everyone. Welcome to our level 2 prac lab, the first one that we're running this May. And we are going to be learning some of the really important techniques, specifically Kriyas and Kumbhakas, that essentially are the bridge between our entry level to intermediate practices. And these techniques that we're going to be learning are standalone techniques, but also designed to fit into more of an advanced practice plan. We are going to be today looking specifically at Agni Sāra and Baiha Kumbhaka. One of the interesting, not issues, but one of the interesting pieces of the puzzle in terms of practicing during May is that we are in the Southern Hemisphere, of course, practicing in autumn. Right sort of at the beginning of autumn, you may notice the trees around us are only just sort of starting to drop. And so we are now ready to start really stoking that Apāna Vayu. And so that is where the Baiha Kumbhaka comes in. Yes, but I will explain everything as we go. We've still got people just signing in. So thank you so much for your patience, everyone. Okay, so we begin our adventure with the wonderful Agni Sāra. Now, Agni is a word that you may already know. It's a Sanskrit word that means fire, and it's where we get our English word ignition or ignite from. Sāra means essence, and so the Agni Sāra is one of the techniques that we use to encourage and to stoke the digestive Agni. So there's lots of different forms of Agni or fire, the fire element in the body. One of the most central and most tangible forms of fire is that digestive fire. And the Agni Sāra is a perfect jumping off point in terms of kriyas that help to stoke digestion. Agni Sāra also prepares us for Uddiyana Bandha, Mahabandha, Kapalabhati Kriya, because it's helping to improve our sensitivity and control over the abdominal wall. Now, I did mention earlier, but I'm going to say it again because we've had a few people join us since then, that ladies, if you are on your monthly cycle, please do not practice Agni Sāra. That doesn't mean that you can't pay attention and listen, so that when the time is more appropriate for you, you can start practicing your Agni Sāra, but no Agni Sāra if you're on your menstrual cycle. And if you have an IUD or a coil, it's probably not a good idea for you to be practicing Agni Sāra, although in the ancient texts there is no mention of the IUD or the coil for obvious reasons. So I'm going to get you to just take a moment to establish yourself in an upright seat. And I'm going to come a little bit more upright so that you can see what I'm doing. I did promise you some T and A, but you've got the A as in my abdomen here. And so if I come up nice and high so you can see me, obviously to keep my arms out of the picture because I'm just using them to brace myself and keep myself upright, but just pay close attention, if you will, to my abdomen. We perform Agni Sāra on an exhaled breath. So this also has elements of our Baiha Kumbhaka, our external retention or pause. And after exhale, you're going to notice me not talking, but you're going to notice me pumping my belly like this. And I'm looking for, excuse me, it's stoking my digestion already. We're looking for gentle, rhythmic pumps. Don't go at this hammer and tong. It's a gentle rhythmic pump. And what I like to pay attention to is when I release the pump, just feeling that I really have completely released and surrendered any pressure in and around the abdomen. So I'm going to show you again. I'm taking a smooth inhale, taking a smooth exhale, and now and take a few practice rounds, please, if you will, just on your own. Completely calm and relaxed. This is a technique that you would typically do right up the front of your practice. And just take a few calm rounds there. No breath. Good. And gently let that go. Remain with the eyes closed, just paying attention to how you're feeling. With the kriyas that stoke digestion, there is a tendency, potentially, to notice a little bit of extra conversation, a little bit of extra internal noise as vata dosha settles and as the digestive system begins to gently awaken. And I would love for you to really think about your Agni Sāra as an awakening practice. There is some gentle stimulation, of course, and you might even notice yourself feeling a little bit warm internally after the Agni Sāra. We're stoking the fire after all. Good. And now when you're ready, please take another round. I'm going to cue you through this one. Start with an exhale always. Take a calm, smooth ujjayi inhale. A calm, smooth ujjayi exhale. Soften the belly and find your pump. Really relaxing it out as you let go of the pump. As my body grows a little bit softer, as I move further and further away from my youth, I tend to notice that as I release that pump, there's almost a very subtle tug or pull through the internal fascial lines as I release the pump. Right, and when you're ready, just letting that go. You may have already let that go. And taking a pause to notice. All right. And when you're ready, just coming back to me for a moment and letting me know what questions you might have. We are going to have a proper guided practice this morning, but I want to get all of this technical, theoretical stuff out of the way first. How is that feeling? Any questions?
Yeah, how come we don't do it on the period?
Ah, very good. Very good question. Well, if you can visualize, Izzy, as you're pumping and stoking the abdomen, you're pumping and stoking the energy in the abdominal wall and in the pelvic bowl. And when we are, especially on the first 3 days of our cycle, we're wanting for Apāna Vayu to dominate. So for those of you who just need a little refresher, the 5 Vayus are the 5 different directions and functions of prāṇa within the human body. And Apāna Vayu is the form and function of prāṇa that moves in, down, and out. So any bodily function that involves moving things down and out is Apāna Vayu driven, including menstruation, toileting, giving birth, ejaculation, all of the things that are moving energy down and out of the body. That's Apāna Vayu. And so, Izzy, that is the answer to your question. We're wanting just to keep the energy nice and steady and downwardly mobile during especially the first 3 days of menstruation. And so I suppose my next question to you before we move on is, if as long as that's feeling okay with you, did anyone notice any heat that rises when you were practicing? Yeah. Okay, beautiful. And that's very, very natural because we're stoking the fire. Now, you'll notice if your dinner last night was quite large, or if your digestion is a little bit sluggish, you might notice a feeling of sort of fullness in the abdomen. It's nothing to do about that. One of the things that Agni Sāra is doing is helping our digestion. So if during the day you notice that there's a little bit more movement in the bowels, or just a little bit more internal conversation, that is very normal and very natural. If at any stage during your practice you notice a significant shift in your rhythms, so when we're talking about our rhythms, we are of course talking about our hormonal rhythms, digestive rhythms, sleep-wake cycles. If you notice any significant shifts there, please reach out to me straight away, because we're wanting to track that very carefully, and especially for women of childbearing years. We don't want to interfere with Mother Nature. Lana has her hand up, and then Katie. Lana, hun, you go first.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dominique. My question is, so you were talking about Apāna Vayu. So does it mean that Agni Sāra is actually not helping Apāna Vayu, or?
Correct. So Agni Sāra doesn't work specifically with any of the Vayus. It just causes a general sort of motility and movement and activation of the energy. But it should be very gentle. There might be a bit of heat. You might feel a little bit more awake. So you're correct. It's not stoking Apāna Vayu, which begs the question then, Dominique, if it's autumn and we're trying to stoke Apāna Vayu, what the fuck are you doing? So in terms of all of the possible kriyas that we could be practicing, this is actually the most gentle. And when you perform it right at the beginning of the practice, you then have all of that time afterwards to settle that energy and then to stoke Apāna Vayu, which is where the Bāya Kumbhaka, where the external retention, which we're going to be looking at today, that's where that then comes in to encourage that. So it's a little bit like if you imagine a pile of autumn leaves in your mind's eye. The Agni Sāra and the stimulating practices in general, it's like taking a leaf blower and blowing those leaves and sending them out in all sorts of different directions. And then the Bāya Kumbhaka and the practices, the breath practices that settle, that is encouraging those leaves to then fall back down into a pile. So you would never just perform Agni Sāra on its own and then not counter its effects further down the practice. Amazing question, Lana. Thank you.
Sorry, just one more little thing. So then this practice needs to be done only in the morning, like together with other practices. So it can't be done separately, like during the day or.
Well, okay. Thank you. Great question. So number one, Agni Sāra always on an empty stomach. So it's not something that you would do just in the middle of the day as a pick-me-up. You would always do it first thing in the morning. And it's actually, you can use that, you can use it in the morning as a standalone practice. That's fine. Don't use it as a standalone practice any other time in the day. Thank you, Lana. Katie. Is she gone?
Hi. Yep, no, I just moved. I just wanted to know what, I'm trying to phrase this question, the pelvic diaphragm in this sort of.
Great question.
Yeah, I notice what mine's doing. I'm just curious. There's movement there, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure whether I'm supposed to be just keeping it
Okay.
in that soft exhalation
So,
feel. Yeah.
Katie, your instincts are exactly spot on. There should be movement in the pelvic floor. We are not trying to grip the pelvic floor and resist that movement. We want to keep everything super relaxed. It's just the pump that's active, and the pump is sort of coming from very, very low down in the abdominal sling.
Yep.
Yeah. Does that answer your question, hon?
Yeah. No, that's
good. And your instinct's spot on. So please, everyone, pay attention to what I'm about to say. There is absolutely no gripping in the pelvic floor. There's no mula bandha. There's no effort or exertion happening in the pelvic floor. We're keeping it very relaxed. And as you find those really sincere pumps, because what's happening when you release the pump, especially, is that you're creating a little bit more space in the pelvic bowl, and it's almost like a vacuum that then gets filled. So we want everything around that to stay nice and soft. Great question. Rosemary, did you have a question?
No, it was answered during that thing then. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, my love. So one more little technical note before we slip into a nice practice and get settled. The second technique that we're going to be focusing on this morning is our Baihā Kumbhaka. And before we even talk about the kumbhakas, it is important to understand the concept of the kumbha, or of the pot. So kumbha means pot, and the pot that we are referring to in our pranayama practice is the internal pranic pot. So that pot is formed internally by the pelvic floor. So that's the floor, the bottom of the pot, the internal abdominal space, and the internal thoracic space. So that's the space obviously within the abdomen and the space within the rib cage. So that is the wall of the container. And then the lid of the pot, or the ceiling, is our tongue, and that tongue position, which is why one of the reasons why we are so curious and adamant that we really want the tongue and the tongue posture to be just so. Baihā Kumbhaka, Baihā means outside of. So your Baihā Kumbhaka is your pause or your retention after the exhalation. Your Antara Kumbhaka is your pause after the inhalation. It is my preference to begin work and exploration with the empty pot, the Baihā Kumbhaka, first. It is safer. It is easier to start playing with. And more to the point, from an Ayurvedic lens, this time of year is the perfect time to start playing with those pauses after exhale, because Apāna, Vayu. When we are practicing our retentions, whether it's internal or external, and please listen to what I'm going to say, it is absolutely paramount that we don't hold the breath to the point of tension or strain. The succeeding inhalation has to be very calm, very relaxed, unhurried, and not greedy. And unless it is calm, you've achieved nothing. And I suppose as an A-type personality Westerner that I am, when that line landed, it really drove the point home, because we always have this tendency to want to go hard and go at it and almost have a little bit of a competitive energy in there. In pranayama, that energy does not serve us at all. It only will create problems. However, we are asked during our retentions to make friends with discomfort. This is one of the benefits of working with your retentions. It trains our mind to be in the midst of discomfort and remain calm, which for obvious reasons is, in my mind anyway, a really important skill. And it's also training our CO2 tolerance. So there's lots of benefits. We'll speak more about that as the weeks go by. But the point I'm wanting to make really is to just keep your attentions very calm. There will be some discomfort, and that oxygen hunger feels exactly like anxiety. So it is quite a confronting feeling, and it's up to you internally to be very present with the reality of how you are this morning, because tomorrow morning will be different. Be very present with that reality and manage that internally as best as you can. If you're feeling any overwhelm, please stop, take a couple of rounds of your reset breath. And if you're still feeling a little overwhelmed, take a short shavasana for 1 or 2 minutes until that tension dissolves, and then you can collect yourselves and come back into your practice. Okay, let's get into it, shall we, my loves? Thank you so much for your questions and your patience. We're starting off this morning in our comfortable upright seat, shoulders relaxed, and picking up our Agni Sāra. Again, I'm going to cue you through the first couple of rounds, but then leave you to explore on your own. Remember, these are pumps that are very rhythmic, performed at the end of your exhale. There's no breath happening whilst you're pumping. And so you need to manage both the pump as well as your internal rising CO2 levels. So there's a little bit to coordinate there. When you're ready, just softening through the shoulders. Take a long, smooth Ujjayi inhalation. A calm, smooth Ujjayi exhalation. Relax the belly and find your pumps. Really relax your belly as you release the pump. Pay attention to how you're feeling. You'll finish when you feel called to, and then take a smooth Ujjayi inhale, a smooth Ujjayi exhale, shoulders and face soft, and then find your pumps again. When you feel ready, take your smooth Ujjayi inhale, your smooth Ujjayi exhale, and then find your pumps. No counting, just curious. And take one more round of your Agni Sāra. At the end of this round of Agni Sāra, take a pause. Shine the spotlight of your attention on your internal terrain and notice. There might be a sensation of internal warmth and movement. You may feel some natural urges to burp, or perhaps it's a breeze moving in the opposite direction. And because Agni Sāra stokes the digestive fire, if you haven't already been to the bathroom this morning, nature might call. And so if I see you disappear to the bathroom, that is, of course, absolutely fine. Good. And now moving right along to our Jalandhara Bandha, a practice I know you're all familiar with because it's something that we need to instill right at the beginning of our practice. So moving the tongue to the roof of the mouth, finding your natural sucking or swallowing reflex, and then opening the lower jaw slowly, keeping the whole tongue glued to the roof of the mouth and enjoying that lovely stretch. For you beautiful advanced practitioners, the invitation is to have a play with the angle of your chin in space as you form your Jalandhara Bandha, just like this. Noticing if any specific angles of the jaw or the chin increase or decrease sensation. If the sensation is relatively even or if you feel it more strongly on one side. Good, and letting go of your Jalandhara Bandha now as we come to settle with a few rounds of our reset breath. This morning, please vocalize your long exhale with a hum or a sigh. Start with an exhale, always. Take a big inhale through the nose. Take your second top-up nasal inhale and out through the mouth slowly. Good. Again, big nasal inhale. Second top-up nasal inhale. And now exhale slowly with sound. Taking 2 more rounds of your reset breath. Last one. Please bring your tongue to rest flat against the roof of your mouth and allow your jaw to soften. Come to meet your breath. Moving your breath slowly and smoothly through the nose. Allowing a portion of your awareness to rest within the channels of the nostrils. And taking a moment to connect with the feeling of the breath. Our nostrils are our access points for the 2 primary nadis. And as we place our attention very carefully and sincerely in the nostrils, we are not just feeling into the nose, but we are opening the gates to the nadis. You might notice one of your nostrils feeling more or less occluded or blocked than the other. And if you do notice one of your nostrils feels a little bit congested, take your attention into the hand that corresponds with that nostril. And then gently take that hand and place it beneath the opposite armpit and let the arm bone just gently squeeze down against that hand. You could use your tennis ball or a rolled up pair of socks as well. If both of the nostrils feel quite open, then that's lovely too. Sending the eye gaze gently down toward the nose. And when you are ready, please begin to welcome your Ujjayi breath. A soft, sweet hug of the windpipe, a narrowing of the airway, a resonance, a texture in the breath. If you're working with your hand beneath your armpit, just noticing if that nostril has started to open. And when it has, allow both of your hands to come back to rest in your lap. Settle into your Samavritti 1 now. Noticing how long your inhalations are. Counting a few consecutive cycles of breath. Bringing the exhalations up to meet, to match. Dissolving any unnecessary tension in the face, the neck, the shoulders. And settling. Noticing the internal space as the inhalation swells and rises. The inside of the pot. And paying attention to the internal sensation as the pot of prāṇa empties on exhalation. There is no tension or gripping in the pelvic bowl, in the abdomen. Just noticing the filling of the pot, the emptying of the pot. And shifting this pattern into your Samavritti 2 now. Your box breathing. Continue to watch and feel the pot. Noticing the internal sensations as the inhalation fills your vessel. The feeling of the full vessel as you pause after inhale. Feeling the pot empty as you exhale. And then noticing that emptiness in the space after exhalation. keeping your count steady. Your mind anchored in the count. Your physical senses engaged in the felt experience of the breath. Tongue against the roof of the mouth, the lid of the pot secure. Let the walls of the pot swell and fill as you inhale. Softening as you exhale. At the end of your next inhalation, take a brief pause and then exhale as slowly as you can using your Ujjayi technique. Letting go of that pattern now. Allow your breath to return to its natural, quiet state. And take a moment to observe. To witness. Reconnect with your Ujjayi again. Slow, smooth, velvety breaths. No counting, just curiosity. We move now into our exploration of Baja Kumbhaka, the pause after exhalation. Exhale slowly. Take a long, smooth Ujjayi inhale. A long, smooth Ujjayi exhale. And then pause. And wait. And watch. Maybe noticing those pangs of oxygen hunger rising. Can you remain calm, even in the face of mild discomfort? Soften the shoulders. And just before that mild discomfort becomes tension, take a calm, smooth inhale. Use your Ujjayi technique. A calm, smooth exhale with your Ujjayi. And then pause and wait and watch. And settle into this pattern now on your own. Fully present. If there are any signals of overwhelm from your system, take a pause in Shavasana or take a few rounds of your reset breath. Stay with this. At the end of your next round, let go of that pattern. Allow your breath to return to its natural state. Observe how you have arrived. Become aware of your tongue as you move it to rest against the ceiling of the mouth. Come back into your ujjayi. Move back into your Samavritti 1. Re-establishing the count that you were working with previously. Aligning your mental energy with the rhythm of the count. Are you able perhaps to stretch your count out by 1 or 2 without creating tension? When you are ready, please begin to stretch out your exhalation to twice its current length. If you sense that the double length exhale is beyond your capacity, then shave off 2 counts. Maintain your Ujjayi technique. Keep it smooth. Use the hug of your windpipe to stretch the exhale out like a valve. Smooth, slow exhale. At the top of your next inhalation, shift your attention into the left nostril for your long exhale. And settle into this pattern. Awareness evenly in the nostrils for your inhalation. Attention in the left nostril for your long exhale. Inhaling through both nostrils. A long exhale with attention in the left nostril. At the end of your next long exhale through the left nostril, let go of that pattern. Let go of all technique. Allow the breath to move back to normal. And notice. Taking your time now to carefully move onto your back for your Shavasana. Try to move in a way that creates minimal disruption. Propping yourself however you like. If you feel the need to take a few rounds of your reset breath here to help you to settle, please do that now. And otherwise, allow yourself to sink, to surrender into the support of the earth beneath you. Summoning your awareness into the pelvis. Allow your attention to gently gather, holding it in the bowl of the pelvis. This gathering awareness in the pelvic bowl might be accompanied by a feeling of fullness or heaviness. You might not feel anything at all. Just take your attention, your intention into the pelvis, trusting in the relationship between prana and attention. Letting your life force gather, filling up the spaces in the pelvic bowl. You might assign your attention a warm thermal quality, a smooth, oily texture, a warm, radiant saffron color. Like the color of an egg yolk or melted ghee. When you are ready, please begin to move your attention up and down the spine. As you inhale, coating the spine with your awareness from the tailbone to the tongue. And as you exhale, washing that attention back down the spine. Coating the spine with that warm, oily attention. Rest here in this pattern for a few minutes until the sound of my voice summons you back. Allow your breath to deepen slightly now, letting go of that pattern. Inviting some gentle movements into your fingers and toes. Rotating carefully into your wrists and ankles. And taking whatever movements make sense in your body next. Maybe a yawn and a stretch. Maybe hugging the knees into the chest. And taking your time, moving carefully as you slowly curl your way to an upright seat. Arriving in your seat, remaining for a moment with your attention directed inwards. Just noticing how you have arrived here. Floating your palms to meet one another in front of your heart, or if it's your preference, just landing one hand on your chest and the other against your belly. As we offer our gratitude for the gift of this day, our lives and our health. And as we extend our respects and acknowledgements to one another and to this amazing lineage, this living tradition. As always, it is my pleasure and privilege to share this with you, my beautiful friends. Moving forward into the next 3 weeks, there will be a little bit less conversation and theory at the top of the session, and we'll dive straight into the technique side of things. This morning was, as I said, a gentle introduction with a focus on those primary techniques, the Agni Sāra and then the Baja Kumbhaka. The technique that we used right at the end, some of you may recognize as our Ujjayi pranayam. Not to confuse things, but to confuse things. There is a difference between the Ujjayi technique, which is that lovely hug of the windpipe that we're using really for most of the practices. The Ujjayi pranayam is the pattern of inhaling through both nostrils using Ujjayi technique, and then the long exhale through the left nostril. Now, in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika and in the teachings of my teacher, that Ujjayi pranayam is so perfect for this time of year, where we've got the long exhalations to help stoke Apāna Vayu, but a long exhale through the left nostril is very slightly cooling. That slightly cooling quality helps to offset any lingering heat in the system from the kriyas that you have used today, Agni Sāra. But there are kriyas that we will be introducing that are even hotter and more stimulating. And the Ujjayi pranayam also is fantastic for offsetting pitta dosha. This time of year, the first part of autumn especially, where we're straddling this interesting space where we want to keep vata dosha steady. We're wanting to cultivate Apāna Vayu, that grounding internal direction, which is Apāna, Vayu, stoking, but we're also trying to offset that heat that has been building over summer. And there's a lot of heat still in the atmosphere. You can see it reflected in the colors of the leaves that are changing and dropping. And especially for us women, we're wanting to very carefully offset the inflammation, but then also keep Vata dosha nice and steady. And so that's a little bit of my my process in planning this morning's offering. I appreciate some of you might need to nip off to work, but if any of you want to stay back and ask any questions, please let me know just by raising your hand or simply unmute yourself and talk to me. Lana, you raised your hand. Thank you.
Thank you for a beautiful practice, Dominic. I have a question. I find that the simpler techniques are usually harder to do for me anyways. So especially like box breathing. So I start feeling tension, and I have a feeling that there is not enough air. And also with, so one more question was with the Bahya Kumbhaka. I was also feeling that with every round, my retention got shorter instead of being longer. Is that normal?
Yeah, very normal. And Lana, can I ask you, you mentioned that there's some tension in your box breathing. Where in the pattern do you notice the struggle?
On the inhale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting. So what I'm hearing is that you're finding it difficult in your box breathing to sort of find a big satisfying inhale. And in the Baya Kumbhaka, you feel like your retentions are getting shorter and shorter. Okay. So what I'd like to recommend for you is some more makrāsan and sort of focusing on stretching and releasing the muscles around the rib cage. Yeah. And so right at the top of your inhale in your makrāsan, give yourself a chance just to linger there and push your belly against the floor and stretch and spread the rib cage. And that is going to start to open up some space for the inhalations to get a little bit more comfortable. When you say there's tension on the inhale, is it a generalized tension, or do you feel any sharp catching or pulling anywhere on the inside of that pot?
It's just here.
Okay. So, all right. So then we are looking to just sort of free up the rib cage for you a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And as I said, with the Baya Kumbhaka, it's very normal to notice that it's perhaps your retentions are getting shorter as you progress. That's nothing to worry about. It's just the body getting comfortable with that CO2. So we're just going to track that and watch it week by week and see how we go, because we're coming back to these techniques and building on them next week and the week after, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rosemary, you had your hand up, and then Isabel.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify with the Agni Sāra. Is that like it's not a forced exhale, is it? Or is it?
No,
that's all right.
Absolutely not. So it's not Kapalabhati.
Yeah.
It is, and the reason I'm teaching Agni Sāra first is because it's a precursor to Kapalabhati. So, but the pattern is calm inhale, calm exhale. At the bottom of that exhale, we pause the breath and we pump the belly.
Okay. All right. I'll rewatch it all over again.
Beautiful. And also refer to your manual, because you've got on page 11 and 12, you've got your information there on your Agni Sāra. And yeah, the most important thing to remember, you're inhaling Ujjayi, exhaling Ujjayi, then no breath moves as the belly pumps rhythmically, as many steady pumps as you can get in on that exhale without any tension building, and then you pick up your next round.
Okay, thank you.
Beautiful. Izzy.
Hi. So this is a question about, I wrote it down to try to articulate it. The succeeding inhale. Okay, so on monitoring the discomfort of the held exhalation. Should my succeeding inhale be, so sometimes it sort of feels like um, I'm not sure if it should be like fully calm with like literally no tension at all, like very, very, very smooth, or if it should be a little bit like if you throw a ball to someone and then when they catch it, the ball's traveling fast. So they kind of go, okay, I've got the ball, but
Yep.
it's like controlled and there's a little bit of feedback. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
It makes perfect sense. I love that analogy of the ball. I've got that in my head as like it sort of throws your arm back when you catch it.
Yeah, you go, whoa.
That was awesome. Okay, we want it to be fully calm. Fully calm.
Sure.
If there's any tension or feeling of sort of that energetic rebound, it's been too much.
Okay.
I appreciate that that can be super frustrating because in our minds we've got this idea that, you know, growth needs to sort of feel like it's got that rebound energy in it. That is not how the pranayama works. It has to be calm. It has to be relaxed and smooth. So I love that question. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or feedback? Okay, so as I said, next week it'll feel less clunky because there's less explanation required from me. And your job over the next week is to focus on your Agni Sāra and on that Baya Kumbhaka. And the Baya Kumbhaka you can pick up anytime during the day. It's actually a really interesting one to do whilst you're walking or whilst you're performing a task. Just sort of let the exhale pause and be in that space of emptiness and just notice the sensations in the body. The more active you are, the quicker that oxygen hunger is going to start to make itself known, obviously, because you're using more oxygen as you're moving around. And so to just gently play with that and see how you go. Thank you so much, my beautiful humans. I'm really grateful to you all. If you do have any more questions, feel free to hang back. Otherwise, I'll see you all again very soon.